Hello and welcome back to my channel, and welcome back to the fifth and final video in my true crime series. I am saddened that it's over really. I have had the most fun putting these videos and these different collabs together for you. I've had the most stressful but the most pleasing and exciting experience of my life doing this true crime week, and it's something I definitely want to do again in the future. But hopefully in the future my true crime week won't be disturbed by surgery, because today is Friday, the last day in my true crime week. But the Friday previous, the night before that, I am filming this, so I'm filming this over a week early, but that's because I had surgery. So I'm sorry if videos become a little few and far in between, a little jumbled up, not one every, just go a little crazy after this true crime week, because I have just had surgery, so I will be recovering from that. But I will keep you all updated in the community tab, so make sure you keep checking on there. I just want to say a quick thank you to all the creators that have been involved in my true crime week. You have been amazing, you have given me so many top tips, and of course you have helped my channel out by being on my channel, and I'm truly grateful. They are all great friends of mine that I have made through this community, and I am just so privileged, and I literally love each and every one of you so much. So today, in my last true crime video, I am collabing with the absolute amazing Caitlin Rose. Now, most of my following, I think, knows of Caitlin Rose, but if you don't, she is a true crime YouTuber. She covers psychological cases, and she does a lot of lifestyle stuff like hauls and makeup and things like that too. So once you've watched this video on my channel, please make sure you go and watch the case that we've covered on her channel. It is a very bizarre case that I personally had never heard of until she told me about it. So make sure once you've watched this video, you can click in, I'll try and put a card, there's going to be a card, an eye or something, the link will be in the description. Make sure you go over there and check that out. There is also a full playlist down below of all these videos, so if you happen to stumble across my channel and want to watch the previous ones, or you've missed one because you didn't get my notification, then please make sure you check out the playlist and go and binge watch. So before jumping into my very last video of my true crime week, I am going to give my usual disclaimer. I mean no disrespect to anybody I talk about in this video, anybody involved in the case or knows anybody involved in the case. I'm simply putting this information together to raise some awareness about the case. Today we are talking about Charlene Downes. Charlene Downes was born on the 25th of March 1989 to her parents Karen and Robert Downes. She had a brother and two sisters, and they all lived together in the West Midlands. In 1999, when Charlene was just 10 years old, the family moved from the West Midlands to Blackpool. There isn't a lot of information about her background, but we do know that she was a happy, bright girl. But in some areas of her life she did seem a little troubled. She had a little bit of a chaotic life. She got expelled from school, and she would spend most of her time on the promenade in Blackpool. On the 1st of November 2003, Charlotte woke up and started her day as usual. She did the usual thing that teenagers do on weekends. She had her breakfast, and then she was listening to music whilst getting ready. Charlene then went to a friend's house, and her friend went out to meet another friend, and then Charlene returned home later that day around midday. She told her mother that she planned to go out around 5:30 p.m. that afternoon with her sister Becky. Her mum said yeah, that's fine, because she was leaving for work at 5 o'clock anyway. Her mother was a leaflet distributor, so she would go around the local neighbourhoods and deliver leaflets for takeaways. Later that afternoon they all headed out. Charlene and her sister went their separate ways from their mother, but they did bump into their mother on Church Street later that evening at around 6:45 p.m. The girls had just been to McDonald's, and their mother was interested in what they were planning to do next, and Charlene had said that she was waiting for some friends and Becky had decided to go home. So Becky went home and left Charlene with her mother. Charlene was waiting for her friends Natalie and Natasha to get off the bus in town, and they were just planning to hang around with each other for a couple of hours. Her mum said yes, that's fine, but her curfew was 10 p.m, so she had to be home by then. Charlene waited with her mum until her friends got off the bus, and when her friends arrived, her mother reminded her of her curfew. Charlene said yes, okay, and gave her mum a kiss goodbye, and then she left with her friends. Little did her mother know that this would be the last time she would see her daughter Charlene.
Charlene had hung around with Natalie and Natasha until about 9:30 p.m. that evening, and then Charlene went and met another one of her friends, and these two together decided to go and hang around at a place called the Carousel Bar on the North Pier. There is CCTV footage taken from around 9 p.m. that night at a junction at a place called Talbot Road in the direction of the North Pier, which is basically the journey they would have taken to get to the North Pier. And it is very strongly believed that the girl in this CCTV footage was Charlene. They had very reasonable belief that it was her. However, in the footage, she was actually seen with a woman in her 30s. She had blonde hair and was wearing a 3/4 length coat. According to Charlene's friend that she was allegedly hanging out with on the pier that evening, she said that they were both on the pier as they said they were, but then they both left and headed back into town at around 10 p.m. And according to her friend, the last time she saw Charlene was at 11 p.m. that evening near Talbot Road. When Charlene's mother returned home from work at about 10 p.m, she discovered Charlene wasn't at home. Her and her husband weren't too concerned at first, considering the fact that Charlene was a teenager and could be rebellious at times, so it wasn't really out of the ordinary for her to come home a little bit late, perhaps claiming that she just lost track of time, she was just hanging out with friends. And so her mother stayed awake that night just to make sure that she got in okay. No matter what time she came in, it's just nice to be reassured that she was home safe. However, she still didn't return home. Her father then decided to jump on his bike and go out searching all of the local spots that Charlene would usually hang out in, just to see if he could spot her himself, maybe hang out with friends, completely losing track of time and rebelling against her parents a little bit. So he decided to check the seafront and the piers, and he essentially checked everywhere that she could have potentially been. But after half an hour, he decided to head back home. Robert had been trying to keep Charlene's mother calm. She didn't want her to panic. He told her not to worry about it, that she had probably just stayed at a friend's house, forgotten to tell them, and that she had come back the next morning like nothing was wrong. And so because this sounded like something that Charlene would perhaps do, they both decided to head to bed, as it did no one any good if they didn't have any sleep, and they would hopefully wake up and hear from Charlene the next morning. In the morning, Charlene still wasn't home, and her mother grew more and more concerned that she hadn't even heard from her daughter. She decided to leave it just the tiniest bit longer. Perhaps she had stayed around a friend's house and wasn't getting up until late, but before long, she really decided that she had to listen to her gut feeling that something wasn't right. Robert and Karen decided to head round to all of Charlene's friends' houses, all the houses that perhaps she could have potentially stayed over that night, and trying to find her themselves. They went to every single one of her friends that they knew of, and they could find no sign of Charlene whatsoever. And so Karen decided to go with the gut feeling that she'd had from very early on point in this evening and report Charlene as officially missing.
When Karen contacted police, they advised her that she had to wait for 24 hours. So it had to be 24 hours since Charlene was last seen before she could be reported missing. I also just want to add here, if you ever have a friend or family member that is missing or you're concerned about them, please contact police and report them as missing. There is no law on when you can report someone as missing. So on Sunday there was still no sign of Charlene. And when Monday morning came around and Charlene still wasn't home, she still hadn't been seen, and she still wasn't answering her phone, her mother decided to call the police again and officially report her as missing.
Hello? Hi, it's Hartford Police here. We just received a 999 call on your phone. Is there a problem?
So my daughter's been missing since Saturday night. They thought she'd been back by now, but she hasn't returned.
How old is she?
14. She came down to see me at work, and she said, "Oh, I'll see you later." And she went up for the phone, and I've not seen her since.
Can you give me a description, please?
She's got shoulder-length dark brown hair. Yeah, with a fringe. She's got a fringe as well.
What was she wearing?
She had a black jumper on with like white diamonds on the jumper.
What's she called?
Charlene.
This time a report was put in and police officers went round and visited Robert and Karen's home. They took information such as what Charlene looked like, what she was wearing the day she was last seen, and a picture. They started to knock on doors in the area to try and find a witness, to see if anybody possibly knew where Charlene went or where she was, but nothing came of this. Days turned into months and nobody had any information. No belongings were found. It was like Charlene had just disappeared without a trace. Once local news stations and newspapers picked up on Charlene's story, that's when sightings and leads started to come in. People were ringing in with possible sightings of Charlene, but police exhausted every lead and unfortunately none of them were confirmed to be Charlene. The attention on the case did affect Charlene's family, as people in the area would gossip, and it was hard for Charlene's family to hear this gossip because a lot of times people would be speculating whether Charlene was dead or not. And obviously being a parent of a missing child, that's not something that you want to hear by your neighbours or your friends or people in a local shop. Later on into this case, Karen noticed that the local newspapers and local TV stations were just not showing Charlene's face. Nobody was covering her case. So she started fighting to get her daughter's picture into the public. So Karen reached out to a local newspaper and they agreed to cover Charlene's case. They said they were fully aware of Charlene's case in the first place, but the reason they chose not to cover her case or put her picture in the paper is because the police had actually told them she was just a runaway and not to bother wasting their time covering the case. This really hindered the case, as Charlene's picture needed to be out there to jog people's memory or make people realise that they may have seen her, and by it not being in the papers they lost possible sightings. There is no suggestion or evidence to say that she ran away, so why were the police pushing the media saying don't cover the case because she's just a runaway? I just don't understand.
So now that Charlene's face was more in the spotlight, more and more leads would come forward to the police. However, sadly, none of these leads led to anywhere. Charlene's case went cold and it would be another 3 years before any further developments came about in the case. So 3 years down the line, police contacted Karen and asked her to come down to the local police station as they had some information for her. The police flat out told Karen that they believed that Charlene had been murdered, which obviously took Karen by complete surprise, as there wasn't any evidence or indication at this point, no body, so she hadn't really have thought about it as a sure thing. But the police did say to Karen that they were 99% certain she was dead and foul play was involved. This case was no longer a missing persons case, it was a murder inquiry. Police said that they had some suspects in mind and they were going to go ahead and arrest them on suspicion of having some sort of involvement in the case. So 2 arrests were made that very day, and the arrests were of 29-year-old, I apologise if I mispronounce this, Ayad Al-Batihi, who owned a local takeaway and was arrested on suspicion of murder, as well as his business partner, a man named Mohammed Raveshi, who was arrested for disposing a body. Charlene's family had no information, no knowledge whatsoever as to why these men were arrested. Police never informed them of any specific evidence that they would have found in the case, and so it left Charlene's family with a lot of questions. A family member had actually contacted Robert, Charlene's father, just a few days later to tell the family what she had just read in a newspaper. Police had actually told the newspapers information surrounding the arrests before telling Charlene's family, so the press knew and the public knew way before Charlene's family did. And the newspaper stated that Charlene had been killed and cut up to be used in kebabs. And these 2 men that had been arrested stood trial in May of the year 2007. The evidence was relayed to the jury, and prosecutors said that they had caught the men that were arrested talking about the murder on a secret tape. One of the men's brothers had actually given this information to the police, and this is what led to the secret recording. This was how they were able to obtain the secret recording. And during this trial, it was also revealed how police had stumbled across a secret child grooming ring in the local takeaways, including the one in question, so the one ran by the men that had been arrested for Charlene's murder. And they believed that over 60 young girls had been groomed, with Charlene being one of them. Initially, the jury couldn't come up with a verdict, and so a retrial was set for the year of 2008. But errors had been found in the audio tapes, which then led to the case being thrown out of court completely and the men being released. Not only were these men let off because of said errors, they also received £250,000 each in compensation for the trials.
After the trial in 2011, Ayad al-Bataki was actually charged for assault after he assaulted and headbutted an 18-year-old girl. Also, after the trial, investigations were done on the officers that were part of Charlene's case when it first went to trial. One of these officers was actually found guilty of misconduct, so he was told to resign. And there is some more important information around this case. A week after the retrial, Karen actually assaulted her husband. She had stabbed him. Now, the wounds weren't substantial, but he decided not to press charges just because of what Karen was going through at the time. It seems she was just angry and stressed, and that's why she did what she did. Charlene's close family was actually part of the ELD, the English Defence League, and they believe that the men who were arrested are actually being protected by police. Also, Charlene's sister Emma had actually attacked a brother of the man who was accused. She did plead not guilty, and she said that the attack wasn't motivated by race. In 2009, she pleaded guilty, and because of this, she was put on a lesser charge of common assault. Charlene's family and the ELD have actively been trying to get these men retrialed, but each time it has been unsuccessful, despite most people, including authorities, believing that these men are actually responsible for Charlene's murder. It was later revealed that during Charlene's short life, she was known to social services. It was revealed in a documentary that was aired early this year that Charlene had actually had an investigation when she was 11 years old, and the results from this investigation were that she was possibly a victim of sexual assault. Social services also categorised her as at risk from sexual exploitation. The documentary also revealed that Charlene's family had actually associated with known paedophiles. At the time of her disappearance, social services were about to take action. They were going to take her into the care of the government after a friend of the family said that he paid Charlene for sex. The last lead on this case happened in 2017. A 51-year-old man from Preston who lived in Blackpool at the time of Charlene's disappearance was arrested for the murder of Charlene Downes. He was kept in custody for 2 days, but because police didn't have enough evidence to prove that he did this, he was released. Since then, there has been no information surrounding this case. No one actually knows what happened to Charlene, despite most people believing that she was killed and used for kebab meat. Until we have some sort of hard evidence or even a body, I don't think that we'll ever know what happened to Charlene Downes. Let me know what you think down in the description box below. Is she alive, or is she really dead? Or was she fed to the public in a local kebab shop? So that is all for this video and my true crime week. I'm literally so sad that it's over. I've had so much fun doing this, I really have, and maybe when I hit 2k, 3k, I don't know, another big milestone, I may do this again. I just don't know. So that is all for this video. If you did enjoy my collabs and stuff, please let me know down below. Leave me a heart emoji if you did enjoy this week, and I shall see you in my next video after I've had surgery. So yeah, I'll see you in my next video. Please give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe, and I shall see you in my next true crime video.